Olly Poyntz-Wright, Mechanisms Engineer and Project Manager within the Mechanisms Group at ESR Space. We design, build and test bespoke mechanisms for scientific and commercial space missions. So I've always worked in the space industry since graduating university. My first job was working as a thermal engineer, so that involved modelling satellites in orbit around the Earth and predicting the temperatures that they get to in orbit. I've always been keen to expand my knowledge within the industry, so that led me into mechanical engineering, more systems engineering type roles, and ultimately working in space mechanisms. So my previous job was actually working for one of ESR's customers, so I was responsible for the procurement of a mechanism that ESR were building. The job always looked quite challenging but interesting, so when the vacancy came up, I applied and eventually got the job. And then it was a really smooth transition to work for ESR because I was already familiar with the team and the work they did and the project, so I was really able to hit the ground running. So as an engineer and project manager, my job is a balance of technical and management responsibilities. As the project manager, I'm the customer-facing member of our team, so my first job is really to make sure that what we're designing and building meets the needs of our client. Our projects can range from fairly small consultancies where we're providing guidance on design or design ideas or to solve specific problems, and that can range from all the way up to larger projects spanning a number of years to design and build and test mechanisms for flight applications. In my role, it's very important for me to be flexible. There's a lot of different responsibilities that I've got, so from one day to another I can be doing calculations to work out if an actuator has got enough torque to meet our needs. The day after that I could be reviewing terms and conditions in a £1 million contract. The day after that I could be in the clean room running a test, so it's really important that I can be able to do a multitude of different jobs. Here at ESR we're a very small team within the ESR Space group, so it's important that everyone within the group is able to take on a number of different jobs. Now whilst that can be very interesting and challenging, it's also really rewarding, and it means that no 2 days are ever really the same. So a number of years ago we completed the scan focus mechanism for the SPICE instrument on ESA's solar orbiter spacecraft, and this was a really challenging project across a number of years for us and a big project for us. So when we got towards the end of the project and we were completing the final tests and checks on the flight model, it was a really kind of strong sense of achievement from the whole team that we'd worked through the problems, and as we were kind of doing the final checks, the results were looking good, and it means that we could kind of do the bolts up for the last time and package it off and send it to the customer. This was a really proud moment to be able to deliver flight hardware, and it's always exciting when you're working on something and you know what's in your hands is ultimately going to be into space. So I remember getting up in the middle of the night a few years ago to watch the launch online, and it was a huge sense of achievement knowing that there's a rocket in Cape Canaveral about to be launched, and there's hardware that you've designed and built and worked on that's about to get launched into space, and it's always an exciting moment getting to watch that. So I'm currently leading a project to provide a door mechanism for one of the science instruments on ESA's Vigil spacecraft, which is going to look at the sun. We spent the last year doing the early design, so a lot of analysis and calculations to make sure that what we're designing is going to meet the customer's requirements and survive the launch into space. I'm going to spend the next year refining that design and improving those calculations and predictions, and then ultimately we'll be building and testing this mechanism hopefully in 2026. If you've got an interest in space mechanisms, then there's not many opportunities you've got to work on space hardware, so if you are interested in that, then please reach out to us. We might not always have vacancies open, but we're always really keen to hear from good, enthusiastic people. And I'd say that don't be too concerned if you don't have any direct space experience. We're more interested in ability and attitude and enthusiasm, and there's lots of transferable skills from other industries. Particularly here in the Northwest, there's not a huge amount of opportunities for working on space hardware, so we don't necessarily expect people to have huge amounts of experience in the space industry.